Allah Akbar. La hawla wa la quwwata la hawla wa la quwwata. Allah Akbar. La ilaha illallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Ahmaduhu wa asta'inuhu wa astadihi wa astaghfiruhu wa umminu bihi jalla wa ala wa la akfuruhu wa ashhadu wa la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu arsalahu bil huda wa dinil haq liyudhhiruhu ala din kulihi walau karihal mushrikun. All praise belongs to Allah. We praise Him. We seek His help, His assistance, and His guidance. We believe in Him and do not disbelieve in Him. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam is His servant and messenger. Allah sent him, that is Muhammad, with Deen al-Haq, the religion, the way, the methodology of truth, and this way of life known as Islam will rise to its proper position in this world, whether the mushriks like it or not. Amma ba'd fa'inna astikal hadith kitabullah wa awtaka alura kalimatu taqwa wa khayrul milali milatu Ibrahim wa khayru sunani sunatu Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam wa ashraful hadith dhikrullah wa asanu al-kasasi hadha al-Quran wa khayrul umuri awazzimuha wa shayrul umuri muhdatatuha wa asanu al-hajju hajju al-anbiya wa ashraful maut katlu shuhada wa amma al-amma dalalatul ba'd al-huda wa khayrul amali ma nafa'a wa khayrul hadi ma utba'a wa shayrul amma al-kalb. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said the most truthful of discourses is Kitabullah. The most trustworthy word is taqwa, or fear of Allah. The best of the community is the community of Prophet Ibrahim. The best way of life is the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The remembrance of Allah is the most glorious of all things. The best of all narrations is Quran. The best acts are those requiring the highest degree of will and determination. The worst acts are those based on innovation. The best way of life is the one adopted by the prophets of Allah. The most glorious death is the death of the martyr. The most wretched blindness consists of going astray after finding the right way. That's why we have this dua, Rabbana la tuzigh qulubana ba'da idh hadaytana. You know, that this is thanking Allah for guidance, for hidayah, after we had been misguided or unguided. The best acts are those that yield benefits. Best guidance is that which the people may be able to follow. The worst blindness is the blindness of the heart. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Inna Allah yahmuru bil adli wal ihsani wa itai dhil qurba wa yanha anil fashai wal munkari wal bagi ya'ithakum la'alakum tadhakkarun. Allah commands justice and the doing of good and liberality to kith and kin. And he forbids all shameful deeds and injustice and rebellion. He instructs you that you may receive admonition. فَمَنْ يَرِيدِ اللَّهُ أَنْ يَهْدِيَهُ يَشْرَحْ صَدْرَهُ لِلْإِسْلَامِ. Those whom in Allah's plan willeth to guide, he opens their breast to Islam. Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu wattaqullaha haqqa tuqatihi wa la tamutuna illa wa antum muslimun. O you believe, fear Allah as he should be feared, and do not die except in a state of Islam. وَتَسِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا وَاذْكُرُوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ, and hold fast all together by the rope which Allah stretches out for you, and be not divided amongst yourselves, and remember with gratitude Allah's favor upon you. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. And at Thawban Kala Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam min abdin muslimin yakulu idha amsa iza asbaha thalathan raditu billahi rabbana wa bil islam adina wa bi muhammadin sallallahu alayhi wasallam and nabiyin ila kana haqqan Allahi an yuditu yawman al-qiyamati. It is related on the authority of Thawban radiallahu anhu that the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, if a Muslim says the following supplication 3 times, talatan, in the morning and the evening, Allah has made it incumbent upon himself to please him on the doomsday or the day of judgment. The statements are, I am satisfied with Allah as my Lord, Islam is my religion, and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as his messenger. This may not seem like a serious statement or a short statement, but this is very serious. Because when you say that I am satisfied with Allah as my Lord, that means everything that Quran brings you, right, is the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything is the word of Allah, right? And you're all right with that. You technically, personally, you approve of that. You say, yes, I'm down, as we used to say in Jahiliyyah, I'm down with that Allah is Lord. Okay? And then that Islam Medina, Islam, and when you're saying Islam, you're meaning everything that goes along with Islam, everything that encompasses Islam. The Quran, the Hadith, and it's a whole collection of Hadith, tons of Hadith. The main one, Bukhari and Muslim, of course. But that's a lot of Hadith. That's a lot of sayings of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's a lot of hikmah. That's a lot of hidayah. It's a lot of direction coming to you from those sources. Then, of course, we say from the Quran, it says, travel in the earth and see what was the end of those before you. That means as you travel around the earth and the globe on which we live, you're going to explore and you're going to come in contact with certain cyclical behaviors on earth, certain patterns of behavior on earth, certain historical patterns of behavior on earth. And that's the reason for traveling. See, one thing about it, if you're from inside the United States, the minute you get outside of the United States, you start learning fast. You start learning a whole lot of things, you know. When I first started traveling, well, first I just went to Mexico and things like that. But when I went overseas, and I landed first in France, you know, and then I went to Algeria and I went to other parts of Africa on the East Coast. You know what I realized? I had to find out how much I weighed, because I weighed 200 pounds over here in America, but I didn't weigh 200 pounds over there. You know, I was 6'2" over here, but I was 1 meter something or other over there, right? And we wasn't dealing in miles. Something was 60 miles away, right? It was 100 kilometers away. Can you imagine? That was a shock, that everything, the distances I was used to using, the weights I was used to using, all the thing. And then I had a real shock. This was in about 71. The place I was staying for a while had a TV there, and it was in the summertime at that time, and they had the soccer tournaments. And guess what? I was watching the most popular sport in the world. I thought basketball and football was popular, right? And here I am. I'm saying, what is and everybody is glued to it. You know what I mean? And everybody is, you know. And I said, man, what is this? And of course, in those days, we didn't know nothing about soccer over here. Just the Latinos and others from Europe did, but we didn't know anything about soccer, you know. So traveling in the earth is a discovery, because you realize that everything that you have seen and you've been told is just something that's relative to your environment. But anyway, I like this hadith because it's very clear. It's saying that I am satisfied with Allah as Rabb. Of course, Rabbil Alameen. You know, I'm satisfied with that. That's okay. I really appreciate that fact, and since I appreciate it, I'm willing to go along with everything that comes from Allah, which is the Quran, direct words of Allah, right? So that means all those 6,240 or something ayats in the Quran, each one of them a sign and a mark of distinction. I'm with that, you know. You don't have to prove it or disprove it or, you know, come to some conclusion. When the Quran tells us, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ, that's the book, or this is the book. In it is guide and sure without doubt to those who believe. That's fine. And then with Islam Adina, Islam as your deen, Islam as your way of life. Happy with that. I'll speed up a little bit. And with Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as the messenger of Allah. Well, it just goes to show you that we live in a world right now that's a very trying world. This world, as we say, ain't no joke. To be happy with what Allah sends you is a big deal nowadays. Right? To be contented or in a situation where today you have to put your whole self into Islam. Because there's a global war going on in the world today, and that war is against Islam and Muslims. That war is on every battlefield. It's on the TV, it's on the radio, it's in movies, right? It's in everything, and everything is out there to distort Allah's reality. It's out there to distort Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? It's out there to distort our religion. And it's out there to distort and malign who the Muslims are, right? So they killed this guy in France, so-called Muslims, and guess what? The guy leaves his ID on the driver's seat. Anybody remember that? Leaves an ID, photo ID on that. Now, if you're going to do something criminally, let's say rob a bank, what's the first thing you do? You strip off, you don't go down and rob the bank with a suit on, say made at John Chester's tailor shop, and it got your name in it, right? If you go into certain kind of places, you're going to have gloves on. You're going to have certain other things with a mask on, right? Whatever it is, or whatever that job calls for, you're going to try to cut off all identification as you as perpetuating that crime. So this stuff was happening in France a little while ago. One guy, he leaves his ID on the front seat of the car. The next one throws his phone in a garbage can right there. I don't know if y'all remember all this, but this little stuff is trying to distort Islam. When they invaded Iraq, they had some so-called Taliban types going to kill some people, which they was cutting their heads off and stuff. And they had, it was about 4 or 5 of those guys standing in a row, and then I looked at one of the guys. I could look at it. I used to work out. You can't tell now, but I used to work out, so I could tell what kind of exercises a guy was doing by what his body build was, right? And here was this white boy. You could see he had been doing high bench presses and what have you, because his chest was sticking up right here. You know, you could tell what it takes to get your chest to stick up like that. Not only that, he had a gold chain on. That's just a dead giveaway, right? And all the other guys, you could look at them, you could say, those are not the body types of Arabs, right? They all taking a photo together. Maybe one or two could have been, but those are Euros. Those are, you know what body types, people got. So we could recognize that right away. Well, why would they disguise themselves as Muslims? Because they want to portray Islam as a very mean way of life. To get through all of this, we're going to have, it's good to have certain knowledge. And one saying is, whoever uncovers the wisdom will recognize the warnings. Whoever recognizes the warnings will cognize the ways of old, the ways of old. And whoever cognizes the ways of old, it is as though he is amongst the past peoples. It's like he's right there with them. He is guided to that which is most upright. He sees who is saved and that which by which they are saved. He sees who is destroyed and that by which they are destroyed. So this is a blessed person there because he's been able to uncover the wisdom. What is the wisdom? Whoever recognizes the warnings will recognize the ways of old, the historical patterns. Remember what we use here, the Quran, right? The Sunnah, that's the Hadith, right? And it says travel in the earth, see what was the end of those before you. And then our own personal experience here in America. Why do you think we're the only ones, the only masjid you can go to and find some, what I call, well, it's just the reality of who we're dealing with, right? It's here. If you go to Dar al-Hijra, you're going to get one thing. If you go over to what's that, they're going to get another. And the people don't know nothing about, or they don't want to know anything that's going on here. You know, last week, they were having a janazah, right, at the Turkish Masjid, that big new masjid out there. And they, they had a killing. Or, the guy was being buried. Then the other guy that set him up, supposedly, I'm not going to go through all the details, but he was there and they were having the janazah. Now, if you was at a church or somewhere, you would be able to tell that stuff like that go on a lot. You know, they having one gang is having a funeral, and the other gang feel like we ain't got enough, or that guy was with the group that killed Johnny Boy or somebody, right? So, first of all, they're out at the new Turkish Masjid, and you could see who's being the recruiter out there, who's bringing people out around there. And you could see when I came here, they was the same people who was a principal out at IEC, way out there. And they were da-da-da-da-da. And then they sitting out there. What does that mean? Basically, that means that all the sinners in and around Washington, D.C., in and around the United States of America are managed by people who are warm toward the United States government. Yes, they are. And they have whole crews. I remember, see if anybody can remember about 10 years ago when they started that Shahada trip for young guys. Everybody right around there in Simple City was taking shahadas and doing this and doing that. And I told them, and then you see them walking down the street with a little paper sack with something in it, which looked like wine or whatever. Well, no, Ripple, not Ripple. What are they? A 40 or something like that, And then you get up on them, and the weed now is so strong. When you walk by, if anybody been smoking it and you clean and been clean for decades, you can smell it. And all the little Negroes that took their shahada, and they was coming here taking their shahada, and they wanted us to get a program especially for them, right? And I told them, I said, I ain't going to do that. I said, because those are government shahadas. Every one of them been out to Oak Hill somewhere, you know what I mean? And they getting a break on their parole, right? And now they're having the results of all of those government shahadas. The people are going to the masjid doing the janazah and killing each other like they do at the church in LA and everywhere else, right? Why? Because the little Negroes that was taking their shahadas was government shahadas. And we knew that from way back. We knew the people was coming in here taking their shahadas, eating up all the food in Ramadan, running at the first of the line, all kind of dumb stuff. No Islamic, decorum at all. And therefore, and there was people here saying we should have a program to welcome them to Islam. I said, they're not, I said, look, we don't turn nobody down. They take comment, we give them the shahada. One guy, he was so frowned up and tensed up that must took 10 years off his sentence for him to come and take shahada. I mean, he was mad. I was just looking at it. I didn't say, hey, man, you look a little tense. But he had to bear witness to no God with a love. I said, well, I'll be doggone. And now not only him, but the people working here was helping encourage that, One of the Bangladeshi brothers, he was here working hard, filling them up. Then when he left here, he went over somewhere else right around the corner. That's been closed down. And see, because since they don't know the ways of old, they don't know what they're looking at. The people right now don't know what they're looking at. Right? So when we first opened our masjid over on 8th Street, that was during the Bid'ah era, and they had the Bid'ah crew coming through. Everything was Bid'ah. Remember those days? Bid'ah here, Bid'ah, everything is Bid'ah. I said, dog. And one speaker, we called him the Bid'ah man. His first name is Daoud. I'm not going to mention the other last name. That's him. Anyway, this guy was professional bid'ah. I mean, bid'ah, everything was bid'ah. And when everything is bid'ah, pretty soon your bid'ah is not strong enough and they throw you out. But I said, these guys, what about they had one hadith that they like. It's going to be 73, all of them going to hell except one. I said, man, that's a lot of people going to hell, And my name was on the Negro list or something. I mean, it was 100% against, this guy, they used to talk about this masjid so bad, they used to say, this masjid, you can't pray over a graveyard. He said, this masjid is a graveyard. It wasn't a graveyard. The school up there was a graveyard, right? The place right over there is a graveyard. The house that we own right next door there It was a lady been there since I don't know when. I asked her, what, has this ever been a graveyard? So she said, well, I've been here for 71 years. Right? That's dead. And that, where you are, had never been a graveyard. And then she pointed out, that's a graveyard, that was a graveyard, but not this, right? And everybody was saying, you can't pray over there because they praying over a graveyard. Well, of course, the hadith say that the earth, you could pray anywhere on the earth, basically. I mean, there's some, you can't play where they slaughtering hogs and the sewage, you can't pray there. But if you're going out, if you just driving through the woods and it's time to pray, you can pull over and pray. Popular stuff, because the earth is, and you don't know who been buried there. Go back 100,000 years, there's probably a whole crew of people been buried under that tree before it was a tree there. Anyway, people got something to say. So let me get on with whoever cognizes the ways of old, it is though they are there. Really are there in personal reality. And so, if you're around a while, the time that you're here, inshallah, Allah will give you some opportunity to become aware of the ways, the behavior, and the patterns of behavior in this environment in the United States where we live. And there's something called tafweed and rida. Tafweed is something in the Quran. Musa alayhi salam says, you will remember what I am telling you. As for me, I am delegating my affair to Allah. Surely Allah is all-seeing with respect to adoring servants. So this is Musa. You remember what I'm telling you. I am practicing tafweed. I'm delegating. As to delegate, I am delegating all my affairs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That means I'm turning over my plans, my hopes and dreams and aspirations for the future. I'm delegating all of my affairs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then, Rida, like we say, radiyallahu anhu, may Allah be pleased with. Rida is being well pleased, is being contented with what Allah gives you. That's been a big help for us because we have not been accepted by the general masajid leaders around here and anywhere else in the United States for many reasons. But the reason that we said certain things in the beginning, I'm pleased with Allah as Lord. So whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have ordered us to do, right? If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَتَسِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا, hold on all together by the rope which Allah stretches out to you, and be not divided. I'm happy with that. What does that mean? All of the Muslims, right, in the world are our brothers. And we have to go by what is the standard of the hadith. If they face our Qibla, right? If they eat our food, right? And if they say La ilaha illallah Muhammadan Rasulullah, then we down with them. In every Muslim group that you're around, have some little on the side stuff. It don't say if they got this on the side, if they got that on the side, we not with them. It don't say that. Right? If they fall into this criteria, we down with them. And then that brings on other things too. If somebody try to hurt them, they're hurting you. Right? If somebody try to kill them, they're trying to kill you. Right? So that means this wahda, this unity, is incumbent upon you because you believe Allah is Lord, right? And you believe in Deen al-Islam, Islam Adina, right? And you believe in Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as the messenger of Allah. That makes you on the team. You're part of the crew then, right? And so, if we arrive here from somewhere else and we include all of this in our approach to Islam, that means the Muslims that we find here that are not outside of this, right? We down with them. If it's something that they might have in their mind and their practice that you have questions about, talk to them about it. See why they do that, right? Why not? Just take a look at it, see why they do it. But they're your brother. So rather you delegate your affair to Allah and allow Him to place you where it is best for you to be placed. If you do not get the position you want, you trust that Allah has done the best outcome for you. In other words, this thing about tafweed delegation, tafweed delegating all of our affairs, right? When you do that, you trust in Allah and you're glad. Rida is happy. You're happy with whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala send you. You're happy with that. Because see, you know Allah know better what's good for you than you do. Because you think, man, I want to marry that girl. She's tender, looking good, you know what I mean? Just the right kind of shape. And Allah send you a message some kind of way that you ought to marry that not so nice looking girl, but has a good stature, a good religion. And you marry Sally Mae, and she's crazy as a Betsy bug, and don't do hardly no praying and no nothing else. But you like the way she looked, and now you got the idea. So the next go around, you listen to Allah. I'm all ears, and not listening through the ear, but my heart is open. You know why? Because you know better who's good for me than I do. You know, the Negro used to think he know everything about women, and he didn't realize that one of the reasons for ladies to go visit the proposed mother and what have you, that mothers know about women better than you do. And they looking for all you looking at, boy, look at the hair on that girl, look at the little shape. Your mother ain't looking at all that stuff, right? She's watching the character, how she do certain things, little stuff she says she can't hide, right? Because she know more about women than you do since she's a girl, right? And then your father is probably discussing things with the husband because he know what kind of man it's going to take to help his daughter to really live the type of life that she wants to live, deserves to live, and can y'all do it together? He's looking for different other stuff, right? So that's why In our countries, we have people, our parents reconnoiter and they check out who we want to marry before we do. They sign and seal things. Why? Because they know more about marriage than we do. Of course, we think we know everything, right? Yeah. I mean everything. Let me move up a little bit. This is about being diametrically believing. O Messenger of Allah, the Prophet ﷺ said, what is the inner reality? He's asking the people of your Iman. They replied, well-pleasedness with the decree of Allah, delegation of all of my affairs to Allah, and full assent to the commands of Allah. Not only I'm delegating my affairs to Allah, tafweed, I'm delegating just like Musa said. It's a big struggle here we have with Pharaoh, but I'm delegating my whole affairs to Allah, right? And you see how he come out. Well-pleasedness with the decree of Allah, delegation of our affairs to Allah, and full assent to Allah's command. The Prophet ﷺ said, these are the people of knowledge, people of wisdom. On the basis of their wisdom, they almost could have been prophets. Don't jump at this almost could have been prophets. You look in the book on Tijara, and the people that give a certain way in charity, that's 1/10 of prophethood. Right? Y'all remember these hadiths? Okay. Because a lot of people say, Negro making stuff up. You know. I'm telling you, they'll say anything. Okay. Back to our general believers around here. Back to the shooting out at the Turkish Masjid the other day. Why would we expect something like that to happen? Because the people walking up and down the street here was not displaying Muslim characteristics. And the government had a serious move starting 10 or 15 years ago to grab up all these young guys and get them focused on Islam. They had guys just come out of prison, don't want to be, man, whatever they was doing, they gave them direct access to these guys. I was sitting here watching. All right around here, all the places you heard the names. They gave them access to these guys. It's not that there's nothing wrong with taking shahada in prison. That's the way I took my shahada in the penitentiary, you know. So we have a lot of respect for that process. But that process has been corrupted over the last generations. They can't hardly read, you know, the way you should have English and Arabic translation. Think about what they want you to send in the prisons now. Just the English translation. They don't want you to read Arabic. And the police, when they think you can read Arabic and understand it, they go crazy because it's something they don't know. When I was running the hills in California, I had some of the du'as, you know, for Eid. The police looked back there, got his eyes real big. I said, you want some of those? Yeah. So he thought he was getting a secret message or something. That, you know, because what they've been told about Arabic, what they've been told about the Muslims. What about the Muslims that's been set up by the police in the thousands? They're just admitting it on TV, that crew that took Baya to bin Laden down in Miami or something like that. They admitting that, yeah, it was the FBI was telling them. They didn't know who they was talking about. Place up in Philadelphia, they had a crew. This is a guy floated in from Pakistan. He got a case, so the police hooked him up to trap some of the brothers, so he was offering money. This is up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And so they trapped a group of brothers, Negroes, that wanted to do some so-called terrorism. And when they looked into it, they saw that these Negroes just wanted some money, but it didn't make no difference. So one of the brothers out of the four, he was on the strongest medication they got at the crazy house. And he was standing there in court, and the judge said, "Son, do you know what this is all about?" "Yeah, I think so." The guy was on, it could have been Thorazine, Prolixin, one of them things, That stuff be having you where you can't. Thorazine is, the Prolixin is a Prolixin shovel. Hey, man. What? You can't turn your head. You got to turn all the way around. In the penitentiary, they call it the Prolixin shuffle. You could tell everybody that's taking Prolixin by the way they're walking. You see, they use all of those things to what? Give Islam a bad name, a bad image, and giving them a case. The paintball brothers. Some of them used to come through here. All of that stuff that they developed, all the people go paintball shooting, right? The white folks play a game, they showed them on TV. They'd have a white woman naked running out in the woods, and whoever shot the girl in the behind, they got $1,000. No, they gave her $1,000 to run around in the woods naked. They ain't put them in jail. They ain't said, this is public pornography and all. They ain't said nothing. They said this is great sport. But the Negroes became Muslim just to practice paintball. They practicing terrorism, right? They got people they put in the penitentiary almost 20 years. Yeah, when we first moved over here, they still in the pen now. They don't let you out next week or nothing like that. And they know they set you up. They know they're lying, you see, right? So we have to our environment, we have to specialize in the environment in which we live. Those are the ones that have knowledge of the days of old, right? The passing phases of history. It's though they're there in that historical reality, although they're in the present, it's though they've seen all of that, just like they're there now. If you've been coming to Khutbah here, you can listen to somebody that's telling you this is what they're going to do, this is how they do it, and this is what it's all about. So, everybody's showing they had a shooting out at the Turkish Masjid doing a janazah. Well, they didn't recruit it. The government didn't recruit all them young Negroes, right, to be phony Muslims. I mean, it must be 2 or 3 of them was telling the truth. It just didn't look like it. They didn't act like it. And then, not that I know anything, but I would just sit there and watch them walk by. Some of them would be wearing thobes and they'd have a little something in the bag. I don't know. It's wrong for me to be suspicious that they had a bottle of wine or 40 in there. I'm sure they didn't. But that's what, the shaitan was telling me, And then they walk by and you get a whiff. See, I had one of my friends in California that Well, we started out together, and he used to smoke weed and all that, and I used to take him over to we called it the temple at that time. It's in the middle 60s and all that. And sometime I'd take a whole crew, and we'd be going on the highway, so we'd go out to San Francisco, cross the Bay Bridge, and the window would be rolled up. I didn't smoke weed or nothing. I guess I had a real serious high, though. I mean, so I skipped. My friend in Oakland worked in one of these places where they grow marijuana, and he tells me all the time, man, we got some stuff in a tube, we squeeze it in the water, and how, so I said, to get to the question, I said, the weed we used to smoke years ago, how is it now? He said, the smoke they're smoking now is 5 times better, or better, whatever it is, than what we used to smoke. 5 times better. And I asked about it so much that he kind of got an idea. Maybe I wanted a little something, so he bought a little shopping bag, because he worked in the weed, they grow weed. And they have cookies, all that stuff. So I said, no, I ain't, I'm not hitting it, because high as I am, I couldn't get this high. If I smoke weed, it would bring me down from where I am 85% of the time. I mean, you can tell that I'm on something up here, I'm on life. And it juice you, it have you, hey man, you get hooked on this Islam, you'll be so juiced up, everybody be feeling sorry for you. Oh, the poor brother, they doing this to him, and you be laughing at him. You say, man, I don't know what's wrong with them people. You know what I mean? But Islam Medina, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as the messenger of Allah, right? And Allah is the Lord. You can't lose with that. Let me speed up a little bit. So these phony shahadas, I'm not saying they were all phony, but they all back in jail. They've been in jail. They ain't going nowhere but jail. But the people wanted us to divert our attention from what we was doing, right, to service those guys. And something told me that they wasn't real about Islam. That's just the way it is. And sure, it came out that way, but that's from experience. And everybody, I said, they can come, they can eat all the food at Ramadan, they can get at the front of the line. Of course, they wasn't fasting, but all the poor brothers that was fasting would be way at the back of the line. Remember when everybody was just, the non-fasters would crash the line. They'd be there first, and the poor brothers that really was fasting, they'd be at the end, out of courtesy. So we made a new rule. I said, y'all got to eat after the brothers. Not that we suspect you of not fasting, but you don't even look like you fasted. Like where you had that old tired, pitiful look. You can tell. And when you break the fast, you can tell when people, yeah, man, when you get them dates in that water, cold water in the summer, you ready to go. They wasn't doing that, right? None of them. And all the brothers and sisters here had that move. They couldn't wait. The guy just wanted food. They didn't want no water. I said, they don't want nothing to drink. Maybe they ain't fasted. Not that I'm suspicious or nothing. Anyway, I'm telling you, this is a big experience trying to preach Islam according to Quran and Sunnah in the United States of America. It's a big deal. It is the biggest deal for modern times. Let me get on a little bit and I'll move toward. So we have tafweed, delegation of our affairs to Allah. We have rida, well-pleasedness, contentment, satisfied with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with whatever comes our way. I want to close with a few things that are happening today. And some of our friends, we want to call them embarrassadors, not ambassadors, embarrassadors. That means they embarrassing somebody. So this is just a Negro word, embarrassador. There's no such word, but we're going to coin a phrase, make it one. Who are they? The U.S. jump on some people every day in the news and everywhere else. They have the biggest the richest Arabs in the world fighting the poorest. And everybody is on the rich Arab side, Saudi Arabia side. But the ones that are by themselves, well, they're not by themselves, but they are fighting that fight and winning. They're an embarrassment to those fat, rich Arabs fighting their brother for nothing because the United States or the Zionists don't like them. They're an embarrassment to Islam, but they're self-embarrassed too. Why? Because they can't even whoop the Saudis with all Sudanese helping them and everybody, can't whoop the Yemenis. And they're the poorest guys in the Arab world. And if you add it up, they ain't got nothing going for themselves, right? Except Imam. They say, we ain't going nowhere. So they're embarrassadors. They're embarrassing, right? The Saudis. They're an embarrassment to the Americans. They're an embarrassment to some of those guys still there in the Middle East signing peace treaties and friendships with the Zionists, right? They're embarrassing because self-embarrassment, because they are allowing their Palestinian, Muslim, Arab brothers to be slaughtered by these bums, right? It's self-embarrassment. The other day, they just had a meeting, and it was 6 countries. It was Iran, Pakistan, and some of those countries right under Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, all of those. It was 6 countries plus China, which has a little bitty border, about a 70-mile border, right, with Afghanistan. Little bitty teeny border, if it's that long. And Russia, which Russia fought Afghanistan for a good 10 years. If after that whooping, they said, we're convinced that we don't want to have nothing to do with them no more unless it's for good. Right? So technically, the godless commies, the Reds, the Russians, are technically the way they're doing things in Syria, the way they're working with Iran, the way they're working with some of the Muslims. That means that they're then shifted to our team. Right? It's the Russia, the godless commies. And China. And all the countries in that area just met in Tehran the other day to solidify some unity, some harmony, and how they're going to deal with Afghanistan. What is that? That is great business. Boy, that's Islam on the high level. Why? Because the United States had a plan. They had a plan. They left all those weapons behind, right? Helicopters, all kind of weapons and guns for the guys in Afghanistan, right? But now they won't be able to use those weapons because there is a whole collaboration of everybody surrounding Afghanistan is now on a team to make sure that they survive and thrive, and that Afghanistan does not fall back into what it was before. So it ain't on one of them, it's on all 6 of them. You see? It's 6 plus the Soviet or the Russians and China, right? Here's what's going on. The U.S. is an embarrassment to itself. Everything that it's doing is a big joke, right? It's more embarrassing than what happened to them in Vietnam when the people was hanging on helicopters to leave. Y'all remember that? You see this stuff? What about the people trying to leave Afghanistan? Getting on the wheels of the aeroplane because they know the setup that they being left in. And the U.S. run off and left them. Now they got a few coming over. But what about the mean old U.S.? They are now self-embarrassadores. They are embarrassing themselves through their constant behavior. Right? Not ambassador, one to bring, but embarrassment. And it is all because of Islam. So, dear believers, I'm going to close, but I'm going to ask you to stick close to this Islam. I mean, in its real sense, the closer you stick to it, because if you use even some of it, you're going to be an embarrassment for the United States. Because you'll be able to make fun of them, slap them upside the head year after year. Anytime you want. And they think they got you and you got them. Yes, I'm telling you, that's the way it works. Take it from somebody that's doing it all the time, making fun of boss man and his Negroes. You don't want to be a boss man's Negro. I'm telling you, boy, look at here. If he haven't made fun of you now, if he haven't sold you out, he haven't had the opportunity, haven't arrived. When the ship go down, and it don't take much sense to see that it's going down, right? And the captain's supposed to go down with the ship. You have never seen the captain over here. When Vietnam fell, they got on helicopters and run off. Isn't that right? When anything else, boss man, he just say the cat go down with the ship. He don't do none of that, right? If it's a helicopter, a boat, a motorboat, a canoe, boss man gonna take it. And when you out there, boss man, what about me? What about you? He gone. You got to be a fast swimmer to catch him. And if you catch up, he gonna be knocking you over the head with that paddle. Boss man believes in self-preservation. Islam believes in the religion of old, the characteristics of the past, the present, and we know where we're headed in the future. We just don't know exactly where we're going to land. How about if we make up some preparations to land on the good side? Why not? While we're here. We done already did. Everybody in here done probably did everything funny they wanted to do, right? Tell the truth. And you see that wasn't a whole lot of nothing. So now, if you want some excitement, some adventure, live an Islamic life. Boy, you want adventure? You say, man, I'm dull, I'm bored. Practice Islam, for real. You ain't gonna be bored no more. By the time boss man finished running you around in circles, you're going to be knocking on my door, man. What is boss man doing? I said, take it easy. There ain't nothing going on. We got that covered. And you're going to get your good advice. We done all did everything that boss man got out there, and it wasn't nothing. Tell the truth. Right? So why not give Islam Medina a try? Why not say, I'm going to try it? I know it's a little funny at first. How you feeling a little uncomfortable? Man, I don't feel comfortable telling the truth. Man, that don't make you nervous. Because the truth usually exposes you. Honesty is the best policy. I see where all them people wind up, right? Honesty is the best policy. So, give it a shot. And we'll close with this. Be satisfied with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Rabbi, your Lord. With Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as the messenger, Khatam and Nabiyin, the last, the seal of the prophets, but we have the Quran, right? And we have Hadith. We don't need no new revelation, no matter how far we go in the future, because we have it intact. And Islam Adina, Islam as the way. O Allah, we seek thy refuge from anxiety and grief. We seek thy refuge from lack of strength and laziness. We seek thy refuge from cowardice and niggardliness. We seek thy refuge from being overpowered by debt and the oppression of men. O Allah, suffice us with what is lawful. Keep from us what is prohibited. With thy grace, make us free from want of what is beside us. Ameen. Ikamat as-salat.